Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce. I kind of am slap happy now. For those that don't know, I was telling the boys I woke up from a nap. I was a little pissed off. Then we got in here and started talking Cubs baseball, and I'm in a good mood now. So, but before we get into anything Cubs, obviously we got a loaded show today. We almost have a full barn. We got 3 of the 4 here. I am Ron Luce. I am joined by Mr. Joey Ricotta himself and the man, Mr. Tyler, joining us all the way down in Kentucky. Boys, friends, how are we doing first off on Sunday Fun Day?
Good. We lost today, so that sucks. But, Ron, me and you have had a hell of a week. Number one, we attended, a ton of games this week. You went to, obviously, more games than I did, but I was able to go to an extra game thanks to you in large part. So, it was hell of a week. I can't say – I feel like it's like that post-vacation, like, down today, but at the same time, it was so hot outside that it's like maybe I just feel like shit. I'm not sure, like whatever the case is. The Cubs lost, so that sucks. But like you saw some fun things with the sticks today, and can't say everything's terrible when you get some pretty cool rumors out there. And it sounds like the Cubs are in a lot of these conversations that we'll get to. But yeah, man, bad because they lost, obviously, but. Like you said, good. We get out here and start talking Cubs, and you start feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, it's just magical how that works out. Tyler, how you doing today, buddy?
I had a great weekend. Me and the wife went to Nashville to go see Goo Goo Dolls in concert, and it was fun. It was great. That's like our 3rd or 4th time seeing them, but it was a good show. But it always sucks losing at home, away from home. I know Pat Hughes on the radio wanted to say it. I wish he would have said it, but. Yeah, it sucks, but a couple positives from today, and the potential news of getting a megastar is exciting. So I'm not doing too bad.
I feel that I always say kind of like the big eyeballs emoji. Every time that gets brought up. And we're going to get to that. Don't worry. In the meantime, though, if you're listening along with us and you have your laptop or your phone open, head on over to ontapsportsnet.com. Go read the latest Cubs article, and you'll get a little taste of what we're going to talk about here. But, gentlemen, first off, Cubs lose, unfortunately, today, 9-7. Silver lining, however, as Scott clearly points out for us in the comments here, Cubs went from 3 wins against Milwaukee all of last year to winning the season series. And we knew that as of Friday that they had won the season series against Milwaukee this year. So that's pretty fucking cool and fucking tough, if you ask me. But overall, today's game, 9-7 loss. Lauer gets the win. Newcomb gets the loss. I think maybe that's going to be a good place for us to start here. Williams has to come in and clean up because Boxberger almost pissed this one away, and God, I wish he did. But let's start there because Adrian Sampson started today's game 3 1/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. I mean, that's not overwhelming by any means, but certainly not bad either. You would like to see that. And then, Newcomb. Newcomb comes in, absolutely
drops a nuke.
Oops, the bed. Yeah. Newcomb nukes the bed. Really, with a big old pile of shit. 6 earned runs. Newcomb poops. That essentially
nuke poopum
destroyed everything, unfortunately, if we're being brutally honest here, just because of the nature of the beast. So, guys, I want to open the floor to you because we've seen this quite a bit, right, this season so far where, it's we're seeing a little bit, right? We're seeing Ross pull guys maybe a little earlier than expected. He's saying, okay, it's because of matchups and this and that and the other. And it's like, I get it. But like, at what point does lefty righty just not fucking matter anymore when like your pitcher's pitching pretty well? Because like Sampson wasn't perfect today by any means. No, but he was good. He got the job done. 3 1/3. Cubs had the lead when he left the game. And then again, like we said, Newcomb comes in and poops the bed, and then it was a blowaway, and then they had a fight back from behind. And we got one of our absolute favorite storylines of the season, which is the classic fake rally. And then they come up short, and we got that today. So, gentlemen, I want to turn it over to you. I want your thoughts on just this entire situation with Newcomb coming into the game. the Sampson being pulled when he was, what have you. I'll open the floor to you guys. Tyler, maybe we can start with you. Your thoughts on the situation.
It's like you said, it's the conversation. I think I've had this conversation with you guys every single time I've been on the show. Yeah, I don't. As far as Sampson not going far enough, like his last 3 starts, he threw nearly 85 pitches, and today he's just at 61. And I asked right before we came on the show, because I missed most of the game, but I was like, hey, did something happen to Sampson that caused him to exit the game or anything? You're like, no, just pulled him. And yeah, it's so head scratching because he didn't do bad. He hasn't been awful this year. He's had a couple shaky starts here and there, but like. Yeah, I really want to see David Ross, even with our top guys in the rotation, to all the way to Sampson, who more than likely will probably be a spot starter next year. But still, I want to see him push these guys out to the edge where, like, hey, let them get out of that inning, especially at just 61 pitches. But yeah, it's just, and maybe it's a thing that is talked about with David Ross in the offseason. Maybe that's a topic of conversation they have, because for the most part, he hasn't had a ton of pressure on him this year because of what he's had to work with.
Right.
But stuff like that is going to be asked about in the offseason. Hey, why did you do this? Hey, why did you do that? And that's definitely going to be a topic of conversation for him, because he's done it several times, and we've sit here and asked the same questions over and over. And it's just like, damn, come on, man, let him go.
Yeah. Absolutely, incredibly well said, Joey. Any thoughts to build on what Tyler has to say?
I agree with Tyler for the most part. It's just wild to me. I think this was just your good old fashioned. I tried to outsmart people and it didn't work.
And
with
then
the
he
matchups.
outsmarted himself.
Outsmarted himself in that situation. I mean, you're playing matchups like you said, playing the lefties that were coming up. But Sean Newcomb's not a guy to me that you can play matchups with and bring him in situations with guys on base. I believe that there was still traffic at the time. And Sampson was allowing some traffic. So it's not like he was having a terrific day in 3 1/3. The runs were down, like, what'd you say, 1 earned run or whatever. But, he was allowing some traffic on the bases. But then Newcomb comes in there. He allowed more hits and more walks in 1 inning than Sampson gave up in 3 1/3. So it's like, just you really tried to outsmart. You ended up outsmarting yourself, and it just doesn't pay off. I mean, Newcomb, he looked pretty decent when he was tossed down to the minors for a while and looked to get some things together and come back, and he was pitching pretty solidly. But lately, man, he's been I don't know, just not very good again.
I hate to say his name, but can you say he's been very Daniel Norris like?
I hate that.
I know. I hate it. I'm sorry. But I mean,
we apologize. I didn't mean to. No, certainly something funny, and actually a little bit of breaking news, kind of as we're doing this, guys. And this is kind of the fun part about, and this is why we like our comment section. This is why we appreciate you guys, because this is what, sometimes when we're doing these, we're not actively trying to scroll Twitter for any news updates following a game. Right now, we're getting a bunch of news updates. So think there was a reason why Sampson was replaced when he was, and this is fine, and this is dandy, and this makes a lot of sense. However, I agree. I still don't like going to Newcomb in that situation, like the whole, well, it's a lefty versus lefty. I almost would have been okay just saying, hey, you put in your best start, your best guy, and go for it and see what happens in that scenario. But because of, and just kind of to paraphrase, Jack has been dropping this news in the comments here. I went and quickly got it from Twitter as well. Sampson, because he did not go deep enough in the game today, the Cubs are now allowed to replace him because he's not traveling to Toronto. So for those that didn't see the news prior to today's game, 2 Cubs players will not be traveling to Toronto because of the COVID vaccination rules that apply within Canada. Those are Justin Steele and Adrian Sampson. Well, with Sampson pitching today and not going 4 innings, the Cubs are now allowed to bring a replacement player for him on the trip to Toronto. Because right now, according to multiple people, I know Jack said Gordon Whitmire dropped this as well. I have Megan Montemuro's tweet up next to me. She says left-handed pitcher Brendan Little and right-handed pitcher Jeremiah Estrada are in the Cubs clubhouse as the team prepares to head to Toronto. Ross indicated post-game the Cubs will get a replacement player for Sampson because he didn't pitch deep enough into today's game. So that seems to be a reason that they pulled Sampson early. And I'm good with that. But again, I think, going back, this is today there felt like there was a reason, right? But Ross has been doing this all season long. This is a bigger thing that we've seen before, right? Where, he's like, okay, I'm going to pull this guy. And you're like, but he's only at 83 pitches. Why are you doing that? And then the next bullpen arm that comes in gets fucking shit on. And today was just another perfect example of that. But guys, enough negatives because the pitching sucked. Rowan Wick at least bounced back and looked good today. I guess there's a silver lining with the bullpen today overall. Farrell got beat up just a little bit in his 2 2/3 innings. But speaking of pitching, let's talk a little bit about these guys that are coming up. I think this is a fun time because we're probably going to see both of them in the series and maybe more than once. I think this is a perfect opportunity for the Cubs where they don't really have to fuck with a lot of roster moves because of, kind of the loopholes that the MLB allows with traveling to Canada if there are guys that are not fully vaccinated and don't fit the Canadian COVID requirements for traveling across the border. Brendan Little has been very good. Started the season in AA, moved up to AAA, has still been very consistent in AAA. Left-hander, you love to see it. They certainly need more left-handers that can be high-leverage guys than just Brandon Hughes, in my opinion. On top of that, as our friend Mr. Scott Crawford, who's out in Iowa, indicates Estrada es fuego.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's been really good. For those that aren't reading them, I encourage you to go read them. Our guy, Rob Wegley, he's at Bulls Guy Rob on Twitter. You hear us mention him at the end of every show. He writes farm reports every day for the minor league system. He's got a biggest yes and a biggest yikes for each game at each level. Marco Estrada's been the biggest yes quite a few times, and we're only 18 editions into this series that he's got going right now. So I'm very excited to see these guys, and this is where I want to turn it over to you. Let's talk something that's fun and exciting about the Cubs that we're actually going to tangibly see this coming week here in Toronto, north of the border. Estrada, Little, Joey, start with you. Your thoughts.
I'm pumped, man. I've been kind of calling for Estrada to be put on. I'm not sure what Brendan Little's status is. I know what I saw was Jeremiah Estrada is Rule 5, though, from what I remember.
Yes,
so
Estrada is Rule 5.
So it's good to get him some action here because you're going to probably want to put him on the 40-man at the end of the year anyways. So why not go ahead and throw him on there now? And being a relief pitcher, he might be a legit piece moving into next season. And you got him under control. So I love that. And Little, too, not to undersell Brendan Little at all. That's not my intention. I think that's going to be awesome to see as well. But Estrada has been somebody who I've been kind of – him and Danis Correa as well, because Correa is touching like triple digits. I've been kind of thinking about those two. I believe he's Rule 5 as well. So I was kind of like, they haven't spent much time at AAA, but like in the little amount that they have in Estrada too, I mean, just like dynamite, man. Nobody's really touching him. So I'm thrilled. Like when you said that here on air, that just got me pumped up. So I didn't even think that they would be calling him up necessarily this season, but it makes sense too. So I like it, man. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's like what we talked about earlier about how, let some of these younger guys come up and get some experience. And it's nice to see it actually happening. Kind of like what Joey said. Let them give them this time in, on the big league roster. If they struggle, okay, whoop-de-doo. But just getting them against major league hitters is a big thing. It's a big deal. And hopefully, they come up and they're going to work things out. And hopefully next year, this is something that they can build on, and maybe they start. Maybe we see them early next year on the major league roster.
Yeah, and Jack also earlier in the comments sharing he's also really excited to see Estrada, and I am too. And you guys know that I like numbers. I'm an accountant for a living, for fuck's sake. So I like numbers. I like breaking down stats. And let's talk through these a little bit because Brendan Little, apologies, I mishapped. I was still living in 2021 when I said what I said. Started 2021 in Double-A, moved up to Triple-A last season. Was really good over the course of the whole season last year, too. 26 games pitched, had a 3.24 ERA. This year, 29 games pitched. That ERA is a little higher, 4.15. Still respectable, though. I'm not like, ugh. I'm like, okay, it is what it is. 39 innings of work. He has 41 Ks, 20 walks. So maybe you'd like to see that walk number just a hair lower. But again, a guy that you want to see them give a chance to. He was a first-round pick by this Cubs team back in 2017. It was him and Alex Lang were the 2 first-rounders that year. They got one of those was a comp pick, obviously. So they want to see what they have in him. A perfect example of a guy that you want to see what you have. But Jeremiah Estrada, ladies and gentlemen, this is the guy, because listen to these numbers. These numbers are stupid in 2022. So he started the season at high A ball. He's progressed all the way to Triple A. So that alone says a lot about him. Earlier in the season, though, 15 appearances, 23 innings at high A ball. He had a 1.17 ERA, 39 Ks, 10 walks. Then he goes to Double-A Tennessee, and in 13 appearances and 19 1/3 innings of work, 27 Ks, 9 walks, a 1.86 ERA. That's hot. Then he goes to Triple-A Iowa, has pitched 6 appearances so far, 6 innings of work only, but 12 Ks, 1 walk, and a good old goose egg is his ERA so far with Triple-A Iowa. Again, the Cubs have been saying they find these talent guys, and then you don't work out. You're the failed starter, as we all saw with Andrew Chafin, right? You become an elite bullpen arm. And as Scott is saying here, he's 96 to 98 flamethrower coming out of the pen.
Yeah. Dude, all it takes one good start, one good outing.
I love this comment,
give him one good outing. One good outing is going to go a long way. Strap a freaking rocket ship to him. He has both of them, good outings coming out. Dude, I'm telling you, it goes a long way.
He's kind of scary
builds
too.
That confidence in him, man.
He's kind of scary too. Like the facial expressions, I think I've seen it from him while he's on the mound. Like he's kind of intimidating. If you're a batter standing in that box facing Estrada, that's it's not.
I hope he comes up and just wants to, with something to prove. He has that attitude. I just want to freaking show you guys something. Go that way.
It's shit, man. High A to the majors. I mean, the other guy that could potentially do that this season, Matt Mervis. I know people are talking about the 40-man.
That was a hot transition. Yeah, go ahead, run with that.
It just got my brain clicking here because that's something I want to talk about today. So, what did he reach his RBI number 100 for the season? He's top 3 or 4 in the minors in that category. I don't even know what the MLB lead for RBIs is this season, but I know Aaron Judge has got to be up there. But he's been up there in every single category for the power numbers. But nonetheless, man, I mean, he crushed one off the scoreboard today. The guy is unreal. I don't know, is that going to translate and carry over to the majors this year without some adjustments being needed, or that he'll need to make, maybe going back to the minors and coming back? Who knows? But I think we've seen enough, at least at this point, from guys like Alfonso Rivas and guys like Rafael Ortega. Nothing against Rivas. I know he's a young player. I'm not counting him out completely yet. But I think if you're going to do this 40-man, if you're going to put him on next year, right? Let's just say after injuries, that opens up spots for guys on the 40-man. Somebody will inevitably hit the 60-day IL, which will create another spot on the 40-man. So then they'll probably call him up at some point next year. Anyways, why not just get him the time in this year? Because he's going to be a guy that I think will be, just based on the trajectory that he's had this season and the power numbers that he's showing off at every single level. The clutch hits too, the doubles, the RBIs RBIs don't mean that much in today's day and age. We don't look at RBIs and say, hey, RBIs is a stat that you look for, and even in prospects, or even to quantify how well a player is playing at the big league level. But they still mean something, right? He's still driving in runs.
It's clutch. He's proven he's clutch.
He's clutch, and the power. You need that left-handed slugging, and I just think, why not just let him ride the rest of the season, seeing what you have at the big league level, get him some experience before you inevitably, probably, I guess, that's a weird combination of words there, but inevitably probably put him on the 40-man next year. Why not just do it now? DFA Ortega or DFA Rivas, and he's probably going to be sent. He's going to clear and go to AAA anyways if he doesn't have options. I'm not sure. I haven't even checked that, honestly. But still, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be scooping up Rivas either way, like, at this point, what he's shown. So
right.
I think it's just a great – I don't know. That's just where my head is right now. I know maybe I'm getting a little excited with just the numbers that he's been producing, but that left-handed slug could be huge, and first base is a hole right now.
Well, let's talk those numbers really quick, Joey, because there's only 4 players in the major leagues that have over 100 RBIs right now. Aaron Judge leads the way with 109. Again, one of the most maybe underappreciated players in baseball, in my opinion. Jose Ramirez is number 2 with 106. Just a monster. Pete Alonso and Paul Goldschmidt are tied for third with 105. The next closest to 100 is 87, and that is Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. So it's a pretty big discrepancy amongst the top RBI getters and like everybody else. So
shit, look at Ian Happ's RBI total, man. Like, his RBI total's not even near there, and he's been great.
62 right now for Ian Happ. I just saw that when I was scrolling through that. But here we go. Here's Matt Mervis's numbers across 3 levels so far this season. 111 games, 71 runs scored, 36 doubles, 27 home runs, 100 RBIs. He is slashing 310. 373, 599, which is good for a 972 OPS.
Call him
That's really good. That's really good. And, I think the biggest knock right now on a guy like Mervis is he has struggled a little bit against left-handed pitching at the AAA level.
Sure.
So certainly could be something you're concerned about. But, again, most pitchers in the major leagues are right-handers, just statistically. That's just
platoon him with Patty Wise when he gets healthy. I mean,
let him come up, and like you said, if it's a right-handed pitcher on the mound that day, you put his ass at first base or you put him in the DH spot. I don't care how he gets in the lineup. Just let that left-handed slug get a look at the MLB level and see what happens this season. Tyler, any thoughts on Mervis?
It's like what you said before the show. Like, the first base spot hasn't been very impressive this year. Like, between, you said it, Alfonso Rivas, PJ Higgins, which I don't see him playing first. I don't like him playing at first. He needs to just stick to the catcher spot. Frank Swindell, which we probably won't see the rest of the year. We may not even see him next year.
He's on the IL right now anyway.
Yeah, we won't. To be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if we didn't get, if he wasn't on the team next year. So it's like, why not? Kind of like with all these other guys. Why not? Let him come up and, figure stuff out. Yeah, he's probably going to struggle a little bit. But hell, like Anthony Rizzo struggled a little bit when he first came up. Let him figure it out.
People forget that, too. He didn't come out just out the coals, just raking.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
it takes time.
Did not come out gangbusters at all. Speaking of guys who have been gangbusters, though, maybe this is kind of a slick little transition here into talking about the offense for today's game. 3 hits again from Nico Horner. He drives in 3 runs, has the homer as well, just continuing to mash the baseball. Franmil Reyes had another multiple hit game today. He had the 2-run bomb late that at least made things interesting. And even Ian Happ. 2 hits on the day, 2 runs scored from him as well. Seiya adds in a hit there as well. So did Madrigal. Madrigal 2 walks too. So did Suzuki. So guys were getting on base today. Again, 11 hits as a team today. Overall, 6 walks as well from the Cubs. So quite a few base runners. I mean, you still scored 7 runs. You like to see that, but a little deflating, certainly when you lose 9-7 just because of a bullpen blow up effectively is what cost this one today. So, guys, just overall thoughts on some of the bats today. Obviously, Nico Horner, Joey. Maybe we'll start with you here because you got it in your little nameplate here on the live. Extend Nico Horner. I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, there's just so many reasons why you extend Nico Horner this offseason. Number one, because he's fucking good. Like, I think that's important. You got to be good in order for a player to be extendable. And you have the money. You have the resources this offseason. You can kind of cut down, buy out some of those arbitration years. He's controlled through 2025. But looking through the system, man, you look at the top prospects too, and it just makes so much sense. Like, the top prospects in the Cubs system, it's pitching and it's outfield. Like, the top prospects, we do have, Christian Hernandez, James Triantos, Kevin Mate, Ed Howard. Like, there's a lot of different names in there that you can bring up. and say, yeah, they have some infielders too. At least when I say infielders, I'm talking like shortstop, second base, third base. You know, and of course Chase Trump is kind of in that mix too. But like, I just feel like, man, you look through that list, those guys are all low A rookie ball, high A. Like these guys have not made it. They have not even found success at high A. Or you got Ed Howard, who hasn't found success at high A and is now hurt. So that sets him back as far as like his timetable and development. So I just think, man, you add a shortstop or a second baseman, third baseman, whatever you want to do this offseason, whichever position you want to put him in, depending on the free agent that you pick up. And then you extend Nico Horner, buy out a couple of those arbitration years, get him extended through, I don't know, 2028, 2027, like something like that. Doesn't have to be a crazy long time, but like it's not going to break the bank. And I think it's just going to be that much more important to do so at this time because, like I said, you have the resources to do it. And you don't have somebody that's immediately knocking on the door that would kind of set you up really nicely as far as like when these guys are ready to come up. If you do believe that those guys are like, you know, the Pedro Ramirez's or, you know, Christian Hernandez's of the future that are way down the line. He's just that damn good, man. We saw the defense again today, the diving stops, a homer. I mean, he does have a little bit of power. It's sneaky, but he looks like he could be fitting in nicely to that 12 to 15 range, at least for the future too. If he doesn't reach that this season, he's getting close anyways, but 12, 15, we'll take that all day long if you want to play gold glove shortstop, gold glove second base. So yeah, man, extend Nico freaking Horner. That's my one message I would like Jed Hoyer to hear this offseason. And
Tyler, I know you've got a little bit of a message for those in Chicagoland about Nico Horner.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Nico Horner of the Chicago Cubs is the best shortstop in Chicago in 2022. And that's not an opinion. That's not whatever you want to call it. That's a fact. You look at the stats. Nico Horner is playing better baseball in 2022 than Tim Anderson. And that's no disrespect to Tim Anderson, but Nico Horner is better than Tim Anderson in 2022. So, Lynn Casper, buddy, I know you left to go to the White Sox for the greener pastures, and you made a comment that Tim Anderson was the better shortstop in Chicago, but in 2022, you're wrong. You're just wrong. He's got more home runs. He's played better defense. He's stayed healthy. He's got a little bit better of an OPS. He has more stolen bases. He has more RBIs. Yeah, the numbers don't lie. And Ron's a number guy. He knows.
I like numbers.
Nico Horner's numbers are better than Timmy Anderson's. So, yeah, Nico Horner is the best shortstop in Chicago in 2022. To reiterate what Joey said, extend the man. Extend him. You extend him. Maybe we get another shortstop this offseason. Maybe we don't. But Nico Horner has developed himself into the shortstop of this team. I get and this is not just me coming off of finishing off the Captain documentary. I get Captain vibes off of Nico Horner. He could be this guy could be the captain of this baseball team going forward. Nico Horner. I know, and that's no disrespect either to Wilson Contreras, but that's a whole other conversation for itself as far as whether he's here or not, whatever. But right now, Nico Horner, I get captain vibes, and he's proved it this whole entire year so far. Love it. And as far as the rest of the offense, yeah, Franimal, I love to see it. Love to see the 2-run bomb. You love to see the 2 hits. Great to see. And Haps just, staying consistent, been consistent all freaking year. Extend him too, by the way. But yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah,
dude, honestly, agree with you there. That with Horner too, it's just his his
demeanor.
He's
his
all
demeanor,
hustle. He puts in the
everything.
work. Like, he puts in the work, and every team needs a Nico Horner, but people don't talk about those guys very much, right? No. But you need a Nico Horner. He's like the glue guy. He's the guy that makes things
serious.
move.
Like I never, and it's not a knock on him. You don't see him smile a lot. He's serious. He's always got that serious look on his face, like he's ready to go. Let's go. Oh, we just hit a 2-run bomb.
Those lines,
okay.
Man.
Let's hit another bomb right here. Come on, the game's not over. I know we're beating them, like, whatever. If we're winning, like the other day when we were crushing the Cardinals, I'm sure he was in the dugout like, okay, that's right. Oh, we put a 6 spot on him. All right, let's get some more. Just his whole demeanor, man. You can't teach that.
Yeah. And I agree with you guys have to say. Just a couple of the comments too, echoing that. Scott agrees. Tyler, as does Jack. And Jack brings up a good point. Nico should win a Gold Glove this year, which is crazy. I agree with that. I've been banging that drum for a while now. I think he should.
Honestly, speaking of that, who in the NL would he have to compete with? That's probably, I don't know if I'm asking a stupid question.
Maybe Dansby? I don't know.
Maybe Dansby.
Swanson's probably the only one I can think of off the top of my head that I can confidently say he's going to be competing
who else
with.
Confidently?
The hard part is like Nico's such. I think me and Ron were actually having this conversation, something similar to it in the bleachers the other day, and when we were watching the Cubs-Cardinals game. But like I feel like he's one of those guys that, yes, the Cubs are a big market and national media follows the Cubs, but this season they're not following them as much because they suck so bad, like record-wise at least. You're looking at. I feel like this could come down to a potential popularity contest where people are looking at not the advanced metrics as much, like outs above average and defensive WAR and things like that, defensive runs saved, all that type of thing, where they look at like who else is out there that they know of, like a name brand before just this season. I mean, look at it like this. Nico didn't even make the All-Star team. And we were sitting here saying this guy should probably be in the All-Star game. If like you're talking about Tim Anderson in the All-Star game, like, right, Nico should have been in the All-Star game. So that's one of those situations where Gold Gloves can sometimes be popularity, because I don't think Yachty, all those years that he won Gold Gloves, not all those years were his advanced metrics that damn good defensively. But, he calls a good game. He throws out runners. But some of the stuff that he was doing behind the plate, it wasn't all that up to par if you look around the league compared to other catchers. So I feel like this could be a situation where that comes into play. At the same time, man, he's definitely a Gold Glover this year. Absolutely.
I think Nico came into this season with that fuck you attitude of, you guys aren't sure if I can lock down the shortstop position. You guys are thinking about getting Carlos Correa. You just got Anderson Simmons because you don't think that I can do it. And he said, screw that. I will show you. And he showed us so far.
Yeah.
Props to him.
I got, you guys like stats. I know, Joey, I know you're an underlying stats nerd, and I love it. Let me share something with you guys here. This is from Baseball Savant, which is, for those that don't play around on Baseball Savant, do it. You'll have a blast. You'll sit there like a little kid for 25 hours. In all of baseball, there is only one shortstop with more outs above average than Nico Horner, and that is Dansby Swanson.
Yeah.
So really, though, it's going to be a 2-horse race, in my opinion, in the NL for the Gold Glove shortstop. It's going to come down to those two. And they're wickedly similar. They're wicked similar, Joey. They're wicked similar. And here's why. Because runs prevented, Swanson, 11. Horner, 9. Not a big discrepancy. Outs above average. Swanson is 15. Nico is at 13. Fun fact, though, if we really want to get into the nitty-gritty here, coming in on a ball, going out on a ball, players right. Nico Horner is actually the better player going both to his left and right. Swanson is dominant going to his right, but actually is a negative outs above average player going to his left, where Nico is actually very balanced going to both sides. In addition, Nico has a better success rate. His success rate is 80%, where Swanson's is 77%. And his estimated success rate is also better, 77% versus 74%. So they both add 3% success rate onto the expected numbers. We're diving into the deep shit here, and maybe this is a spark for an article idea. Joey, if you want to take a stab at it, if not, I'll happily write it up. But I can absolutely sit here confident with you right now and say you could make the argument, if you really want to say who is the best all-around defensive shortstop, there's a negative statistic in Swanson's numbers. there is not a single negative statistic in Nico Horner's numbers. He is playing Gold Glove caliber defense at a shortstop position that is always considered one of the deepest and one of the best and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Nico Horner's right up there with just about everybody else. We've been saying it all season. We'll continue to say it. And also, fun fact, Tyler, to your point about Tim Anderson, the only area Anderson is better than Nico is in batting average. He's at 301. Yeah. Nico was at 301 for most of the year. He hit a little slide. He's still hitting 293. Nico's also 4 years younger than Tim Anderson. So
people can say what they want. Oh, he's got hurt, blah, 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 if he stayed healthy. But as everybody knows in baseball, if is a humongous, that word is just that's the difference maker. If and he just hasn't stayed healthy this year. And it's not, like I said, it's no knock on Tim. He's likely to come back next year and be the batting title champion, whatever. But like this year, Nico Horner has been a better shortstop, has been the best shortstop in Chicago, and arguably the best defensive shortstop in baseball.
I think they forget too, Tyler, like they don't want to have that conversation, like what you're saying about the best shortstop in Chicago. They don't want to have that conversation with Tim Anderson because this is supposed to be
their window.
It's supposed to be their window. He's been hurt, and that's what they're going to tell you. The power numbers are down because of that and blah, blah, blah. But like defensively, it's not even close, number one. And people forget that Nico Horner was a first-round pick that we just haven't quite seen that much. So it's not like this guy was like, oh, he just came out of nowhere. He'll be down next year. Like this is a guy that's kind of rising.
This guy,
I was going to say, I would like to add, there is a 15 outs above average difference between Tim Anderson and Nico Horner. Tim Anderson is a -2 outs.
Good Lord.
And once again, this is not a knock on Tim Anderson. This is not a knock on the White Sox. It's just Nico Horner.
It's just facts.
He's the best shortstop in Chicago. And you know what? By God, we're going to take pride in that.
Damn right.
We got the best shortstop in Chicago.
We absolutely do. And absolutely agree with you. Just a quick little nod there to the Franimal. When the Franimal eats, that's a Fran meal. Big bomb for him today. You like to see that. So, boys, I do want to turn it over to you guys really quick to sum up any thoughts on this game. We are approaching the 40-minute mark and still have a pretty fun topic to discuss here. So I want to get to that. Any final thoughts from you two? 9-7 loss, no series win, but shit happens.
Honestly, if I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan, all five of you, if somehow you catch lightning in your ass and you make the playoffs, I would be scared, because if I'm any team in the NL in the playoffs, I want to play you, because there's nobody in your lineup that I'm scared of. Your rotation, isn't bad. Your bullpen has a lot of holes in it, ready to shit the bed. So I want to play you if I'm in the playoffs and you somehow make the playoffs, because like I said, your team, your lineup is not your lineup's not scary. It's not. I would love to, like, your big money guy, Christian Yelich, only has 10 home runs. For some reason, I'd also like, I know the last episode I was on, we assumed that somebody on the Cardinals was on PEDs. That's a whole nother, that was, then. This time, I would like to see the stats on when you Darvish accused Christian Yelich of the whole whatever it was. I'm not saying he's cheating, whatever it was. I would just like to see his stats since then. But just in a nutshell, if I'm Milwaukee, I would be very worried. Your team is in shambles. That's all. I know you won this series, but that's it.
Joey.
Oh, well, I'm just glad that we're getting the hell away from Colton Wong, and we are getting away from Christian Yelich. As much shit as we talk about him, and we were doing this even opening day, me, you, and Juice, Yelich sucks from left field. And, I mean, I can't stand him, but he's getting hot right now. So I'm glad that we're leaving Milwaukee and let him be hot against another team for a little stretch before he inevitably comes back down to earth.
Joey. He's not going to get hot. Don't worry about it. He's not.
So he already isn't then.
Yeah, he ran his course.
It's all facade. It's all
facade. It's the PEDs for like 3 games, I think. He took PEDs for 3
I
games.
love
I'm not saying like you say. But.
We're not saying that, but yeah.
Yeah. I feel you guys. My quick thought, it's in my nameplate. It's been there. Good riddance, Milwaukee. I'm tired of that fucking little brother team that just hates the Cubs, and they need Cubs fans. We're good for them because we help them keep the lights on. At a ballpark that, if it wasn't for the fact that it's in the mid-market, mid-shit market of Milwaukee, and they didn't have the shit Brewers playing there, and didn't have to deal with the shitbag fans that are Brewers fans, it would be a very nice ballpark. But, that is neither here nor there. Here we go. And as Jack says, here we go with the Ohtani Cubs rumors, because let's fucking talk about it. So for those that don't know, obviously I wrote an article over at ontapsportsnet.com. I'm going to write another one, actually, that's going to be not a total rebuttal to what I said, but more deep dive into what I said. Nonetheless, John Morrissey, MLB Insider, was on 670 The Score today and publicly said he would not be surprised if the Chicago Cubs traded for Shohei Ohtani this winter, which, first off, that happens. I'm not saying I'll go dive in the snow and take a shot of Malort, but I'm saying I might go dive in the snow and take a shot of Malort if that happens. I'm not saying it, right, Tyler? We're not saying it. We're just
not saying it.
Maybe. We're just putting it out there. But that sparked a lot of chaos, obviously, within Cubs Twitter, as any type of news bit like that would. Shohei Ohtani, I mean, the single greatest baseball player is a rounded player. I mean, he's was a Cy Young favorite coming into the season and an MVP favorite coming into the season. He hits, he pitches, he does it all. Would look really good in a lineup with Seiya Suzuki, obviously. But this is big deal. And obviously there's a lot of moving pieces, right? What would they have to give up? Is there an extension coming in place with him? What are some of the details? So I think a really good place we can start with this is just your initial thoughts, initial reactions, things of how you guys are feeling. And then we can start to spray off into this discussion, because I think it's an interesting one. Really, at the end of the day, right? Like, what would it take to get Shohei Ohtani? And what are Chicago Cubs fans and the Chicago Cubs comfortable departing with to acquire such a player? So I'm going to open the floor for some discussion here. Let's talk about it. As the episode title is going to be called, it's Mil Shohei Ohtani Milwaukee, because nobody gives a fuck about Milwaukee. Let's be honest. We're here to talk about Shohei Ohtani in a Cubs jersey. Boys, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
So the fact that, he says that he would not be surprised. I'll tell you this. I would be surprised if there was one team. I would be shocked if every team this offseason didn't call about Shohei Ohtani. That's just the impact he has. But as a business guy, as far as with the front office, it'd be a smart. It'd obviously be an awesome move, because not only are you're getting Shohei Ohtani, you're basically getting two guys. You're getting a pitcher and a hitter, obviously, but just the market that it would bring in is ridiculous. As far as the money coming in would be ridiculous. It would be awesome. As far as who we would give up, though, would it be worth it? I think it depends on everything else that we do this offseason. I think it depends on if they show some type of direction. Hey, this is where we're going next year. This is our plan, because we've been told this for the past, this past offseason. 2022 we're going to be competitors, and we've seen how that's turned out. So there's going to have to be a clear picture as far as what are we doing, next year, the next year, what's going on. And like we talked about beforehand, would it be worth us to give up? You're looking at least your top four. You're looking at least your top four prospects, maybe five, but at least your top four. Is it worth it to your top four guys to get Shohei Ohtani if you're not guaranteed that extension? It's like we said earlier, there would have to be some type of agreement. Hey, we're trading for you. You're signing this deal. There would have to be that, because as we've seen in San Diego so far, Yeah, the whole Tatis stuff sucks, but with the trade and everything, it's kind of shot him in the foot so far. And there's no guarantee there's no guarantee that San Diego's making the playoffs, and B, there's no guarantee that Soto is coming back when his contract ends, because obviously with him being a Boris guy, Boris is going to milk that thing out to the very end and get as much as he can. So yes, the Ohtani stuff is exciting. I would love to have Ohtani on this team. With that being said, it's going to take a lot as far as it's going to take a clear picture as far as what our goals are, what are we doing, and who's it going to cost? What's it going to cost? And yeah, so like I said, I would love to have him on this team, but I don't want them to shoot themselves in the foot in the process of doing it.
Yeah. Joey, go ahead.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. If you're going to trade for Shohei Ohtani, you need to make sure that there's something in place, that there's an extension. And I do believe that the Cubs are a team that if he comes here, if you trade for him, I believe he will sign an extension with the Cubs. They're one of those teams that you get here, you fall in love with it. He's playing alongside Seiya, right? Like the Cubs were like one of the finalists in the runnings for Shohei to begin with, right? They almost signed him. So, I mean, like – I do believe that it won't be hard to sell an extension for Shohei Ohtani. Now, that said, you're talking about what you actually are giving up in your system, which you fought so hard to build to this point, and you have traded beloved players in this town, beloved players in Chicago, legends forever in many people's eyes, that you traded for to get prospect capital. And I'm not saying that means a whole lot when you get a guy like Shohei Ohtani, right? You're bringing in potentially a future Hall of Famer just by what he's doing, because it's just nuts. Like, just nobody does that. My whole thing is I don't want to give up the top 4 prospects in the system, top 5. We've talked about on several occasions on this show how they're probably going to have to move prospects with the Rule 5 eligible players. It's just probably going to happen this offseason because you can't keep all of them, and you're not going to try to pass all those guys through to avoid the draft there. So I do think that there will be some moves as far as prospects go, but I don't know necessarily that you need to trade high-level ones to get where you need to go. I'm not saying I don't want Shohei either. I would be absolutely thrilled. The Cubs get Shohei Ohtani just like Ron. I'm probably doing the same thing. You can bring over the Malort to my house, Ron. We can jump in the snow together and make snowmen and throw it at snowballs at cars or whatever, But like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do that last one, but it would be fun. Anyways, that's what happens when you're drinking. You do dumb things. But I do think, though, it's one of those things where he's not guaranteed to sign, so you have to get that agreement. But at the same time, if you wait, the Angels might get desperate and trade him anyways and try to take back the best, return on him. But he's not guaranteed to sign with those teams. So he could potentially come back in 2024 as a free agent. Now you're not giving up the prospects. Is that likely? Probably not. I had a great conversation on Twitter with Greg Zumach, who does great work for Northside Bound. We were talking, going back and forth, and he thinks it's not likely that happens. Like, any team trading for him is going to extend him. And I do agree, but I think there are situations where he could say no, right? Like, we're not guaranteed that Juan Soto is going to sign that extension. Like you said, yes, he is a Boris guy, so that plays into it. But there's a lot of things to consider here. So I'm not off of it. I just don't think you're not going to be able to give up the Rule 5 lower level. I shouldn't say lower level, but not as high end prospects as you would in other deals to get Shohei. So it scares me.
I think the kicker would be Tom Ricketts. And the reason I say that, not to interrupt you, but so Jed, I think Jed is more level-headed. I think he would be the type that would think, okay, kind of asking the questions, saying the things that we're saying right now. Is it worth it let's see what we have here. Is it worth it to us to get rid of that? I think the kicker would be Tom. I think the kicker out of all this would be Tom Ricketts, because we see how the Angels are. We see how the Angels have treated their organization so far these past 20 years. They have arguably the two best players in baseball, and they've talked about wanting to sell their team. That's how bad it's been ran. And we've heard the outcry of all the baseball fans talking about how they this organization has screwed over Shohei Ohtani. And we've heard it all nonstop. We've also heard from our fan base how Tom Ricketts has been as far as at the beginning of the offseason. We all, I myself included, we've all bitched about Tom Ricketts and just some of the things he's done, some of the things he said. Imagine this, and this is why I say Tom Ricketts would be the kicker, because I think Tom Ricketts would look at Shohei Ohtani, and just in his mind, he sees dollar signs, because as soon as Shohei's over here, the whole Japanese market, that whole market comes to Chicago.
You got two of them.
Money.
You got two of them.
Yes, all
and
that.
You could bring over another pitcher, a very high pitcher too, this offseason.
And so in his mind, he could think, wait a minute, I'll give up my 4 best prospects to get this guy, because whatever he wants to say, we're going to be better, we're going to compete, whatever. We all know what it really would be is, this is, yes, so much more unreal. So the kicker would be Tom Ricketts, because like, hey, Tom, look, I get it. You see dollar signs, but does that mean, is it worth it, to give up those 4 or 5 prospects that we give up? Is that going to get us closer to a ring, or is it going to get us farther away? Either way, it's Chicago. We're a bigger market than the Los Angeles Angels. People are going to show up. People are going to fill that ballpark up every single day to see Shohei Ohtani play and pitch and everything like that. So in his mind, he's going to see all this money. I just hope that Tom Ricketts doesn't get tunnel vision and says, listen here, Jed, we're doing this deal. I'm pulling the trigger, blah, blah, blah. He's ours. I just hope that's not the case. And then later we're in the same boat, because you can imagine if it fails, if Shohei comes over here and God forbid he shits the bed, whatever, because we've seen it when people move places. It's different, LA Angels, there's not as much pressure as Chicago. There's not in larger markets, in other markets like New York. So God forbid he comes over and is just a shell of what he is right now. God forbid that happens. You can imagine the hatred from Cubs fans towards ownership. Why did you do that? You can just imagine it'd be awful. Be crazy.
And you could have just extended your own guys, is what.
Yes, you could have extended it. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. That would come back to shoot him in the foot,
because of the currency of prospects that you're giving up. And
then you would see the sell the team. You would see that. You would see those posters. Sell the team. Trade up Shohei. Yeah, you would see it.
For Cubs fans that don't know, we are seeing that on the south side of Chicago. Just wanted to throw that little jab in there. But continue, please, Joey.
I think you brought up some great points too there, Tyler. And like something to consider here also is like, he had trouble staying healthy as a pitcher. Like before, when he first started out here, right, in the majors, in USA, he had some trouble staying healthy as a pitcher. And then we weren't really sure, like, is this ever going to come together? I was one of those guys that was saying, maybe you just pitch in relief and you hit, because he was dynamite. He was still hitting the ball all around the yard. He was great offensively. Now, if what you're paying for, not only in trade capital, prospect capital, but what you're paying for as far as an extension goes, what it's going to take to keep him around here, you're talking about, you are banking on him to be that two-way guy.
Yes,
you're not paying him to be a one side of the fence or one side of the spectrum player. So if he comes over here, if there is, I'm not saying I want this to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Of course, I don't want it to happen. But there's a potential, there's a realistic possibility that he could have some injuries down the road and have to stop pitching or something crazy like that. And look, you're talking about, this is going to be one of the most expensive player probably in history, because he's a two-way player. As far as, I don't even want to know what that contract is going to cost. Could be 50 million a year. You know what I mean? This could be an insane contract, paying him to be a two-way guy. You're talking about, instead of paying Shohei Ohtani, why don't you go and pay a big name shortstop, a big high end pitcher, go trade for a big high end pitcher, and then you don't have to put all your eggs into one basket. There's a lot to consider here.
You put him in a playoff. You put him in a playoff position, or as far as a team that could possibly make the playoffs to compete and stuff like that. He's going to be throwing more. I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say with the Angels, hasn't he already missed a few starts? Just kind of like we're going to rest you a little bit. Maybe I'm not 100% sure on that, but like,
well, they were doing that 6-man rotation. I'm not sure what's going on. Like I haven't been following,
and not every team might. I don't know if that's like an agreement he makes with, whoever he signs with. Hey, we would like to do a 6-man rotation, but who knows? Like maybe he sticks to a 5-man rotation. There's no telling. Like I'm kind of leaning towards, and I'm sure you guys would agree. What we're seeing of Ohtani now, we're not going to see that. That's not going to be a thing throughout his whole career. I don't think. I think eventually, at least with the arm, I would love to see it, but at least with the arm, it's going to go down a little bit. Look at what is he? 28, 29?
28.
And, I would love to see it, but it'd be really hard to bank your top 4 prospects on hoping that he's going, because like you said, Joey, we would be trading him for that MVP caliber bat, Cy Young caliber arm. That's what we would be wanting out of that. Not one, not the other, both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, I would love to have Ohtani. I would love to have Ohtani.
And who knows really what the actual cost is for a 1 year, not to cut you off, but like for a 1 year Ohtani, right? Maybe it's not as high as we think. Maybe the cost isn't as high for 1 year, but like you look at, because Soto had extra years, but like you're talking about a two-way player. So that makes it a different ballgame.
Look at Justin Verlander that just had Tommy John surgery and signed a $30+ million contract. What was it, like 30 something a year?
It was up
something
there. It was
crazy.
high.
And he was coming off Tommy John surgery and he's almost 40.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just for his arm.
Yeah.
So there's no telling. There's no telling what it costs.
No, I think you guys are spot on too, and just a couple little notes that I have additionally to what you guys said. Obviously agreed. The contract extension is a must, in my opinion. I honestly, this might be a little controversial. I'm going to say it though. I think any trade for a guy like Ohtani is going to require your top 4 or 6 of your top 10. Right? Because I think if you can, in a perfect world, personally, I think the guys that I don't want to deal, if I'm the Cubs, in that top 10 especially, are PCA and Jordan Wicks. To me, those are the immediate 2 that I look at, and I'm like, no, I don't want to get rid of those guys. I mean, I don't want to get rid of Brennan and any of these other guys either, but if I have to pick, right, Brennan, Alcantara, Norton, Horton, I know you just drafted him, but like, Horton and Ferris,
I'm okay with that. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like your number 1 pitcher is going at least, possibly your absolutely. Top 2,
right?
Going
exactly.
for sure.
And then who's to say they're not going to ask for Ian Happ or Justin Steele?
True. Yeah.
I think Steele. I've saw something about Steele being
in the
they're going to want a
Steele's
major
name.
League. They're going to want a major league caliber player, major league ready.
And that's something the Cubs also have to consider, because let's just hypothetically say, right, it is Justin Steele that goes the other way. So you just flipped Steele for Ohtani, and yes, Ohtani you could argue maybe right now is the better pitcher, but Juice and I just talked about this on last night's show. Since July 1st, the best pitcher in Major League Baseball by ERA is Justin Steele. Yeah. So,
and he's been great since June, since the beginning of June.
So, like, adding Ohtani to that is what is the better move, in my opinion. And again, if I'm the Cubs and the Angels come back and say, hey, yeah, we'll take 6 of your top 10 prospects, it doesn't have to be your top 4. You can find the guys that you're like identifying and saying, hey, we could probably depart with this guy versus this guy, and we like this guy, and then you're willing to spend a little money maybe to shore up a position that you dealt prospect capital from, then that's different, right? Again, it's just such a loaded question. It's going to be so fun to debate going into the off season. And
if Justin Steele is involved in that trade, there has to be a clause in that trade, because Justin Steele is a Cubs on tap guy. If he's traded in this deal, there's a clause that Ohtani has to be a Cubs on tap guy, and we
I like
get
that.
his first interview.
I like that.
like that.
I like that a lot. And I don't know if Jed's willing to do that, right? Because that might cost Marquee Sports Network some money. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things we got to consider here. But guys, it's a fun conversation. I know I'm going to write another piece kind of diving into it a little bit. Obviously, anybody that, we're all,
you're going to hear
you
about
know
it
where
all
to find
over.
all of us. Yeah, you know where to find all of us on Twitter too. So for our listeners, you guys were also great in the comments today. I want to make note of that, Jack and Scott jumping in and really bringing in some good heat and conversation in the comments as well. It's been a fun one. But gentlemen, we have hit the hour mark, so we are going to go ahead and keep this thing moving. I'm sure, as you mentioned, Ohtani's name will come up again on Cubs on Tap. This will not be the last time we speak of the best player in baseball right now, especially in any association with the Chicago Cubs. But we do have a series coming up. And yes, Joey, I promise we will do Fly the W players. I promise you. You're not going to have to cut me off this time. But
hey, I just threw up my W that time. I didn't the last time, at least. I was learning a little.
I know. So we'll go ahead and look forward because the Cubs are north of the border in Toronto, Canada, this coming week. It will be a 3-game series. They are off on Thursday before they head to St. Louis for the weekend. And then I believe they subsequently return to Chicago next week. I would think it's a 3-game series that they return to. I'll have to double check. But not to get too far ahead of ourselves, the Cubs will be taking on the Blue Jays on Monday, August 29th at Rogers Centre in Toronto, Ontario, which is in Canada for those that aren't sure. I've been to that ballpark. Honestly, one of the most beautiful ballparks, in my opinion, in all of Major League Baseball. If you've never been there, highly encourage you to go. It will be a 6:07 start for those in the Chicagoland area and in the Central Time Zone. So Eastern Time Zone, this will be a 7:07 start for you guys. It will be found on 670 The Score Marquee Sports Network here in Chicago and SN 590 and Sportsnet up in Canada, as well as TVA Sports is where this one can be found in the Toronto market. On the bump for the Cubbies, it will be right-hander Javier Assad. He made his debut in the doubleheader against the Cardinals on Tuesday. I got to be there for that. That was pretty cool. 0-0 record, 0 ERA. He didn't give up any earned runs. 3 Ks in his first work. Pitched 4 innings in that first game. On the bump, though, for the Blue Jays, it is Javier Baez's brother-in-law, Jose Barrios. The right-hander is 9-5 on the year with a 5.28 ERA and 123 Ks. Certainly, the ERA is a little high, but that strikeout number is certainly appealing with well over 120 Ks. So, gentlemen, I want to turn over to you guys quickly, noting Strosho is on the bump on Tuesday. He makes his return to Toronto. That's pretty cool. I'm sure he's going to have a blast pitching in front of the Toronto Blue Jays fans, where he pitched for quite a long time. And then in addition, Wednesday's starter is still TBD for the Cubs. I wouldn't be shocked if it's like Mark Leiter Jr. or somebody like that. Maybe goes 4 innings, and then they try and work with some of these bullpen guys they called up, like Little and Estrada, for maybe even more than 1 inning. I mean, Estrada's done it before in the minors, pitched more than 1 inning. So maybe we do see that out of him. Who knows? But I want to turn it over to you, gentlemen. Quick preview, and then we'll double back around here and get some Fly the W picks before we shut things down. So, Tyler, I'll go ahead and start with you. Thoughts for tomorrow's game in Toronto?
I think tomorrow's just going to be a start of a sweep series. I think, the plane ride over to Toronto, they're going to be like, God, we just lost to this shit team in Milwaukee. The bats are going to be fired up. Barrios has proven that he can give up a lot of runs in, innings. A lot of, multiple runs in innings. I think the bats are going to be hot. I think they're going to be fired up to be in Toronto. And, kind of like what no disrespect to the matchup tomorrow, but Tuesday's matchup, you've got Marcus Stroman, Kevin Gausman. If you're just a baseball fan in general, you've got Stroman coming back to Toronto. You've got Gausman that has been dealing all year long. I think Stroman's going to be fired up. It's going to be an awesome game because I've never been to Toronto's ballpark. I've always wanted to go, but when that place is packed, it is rocking. It is a tough place to play, but I think Stroman's going to strive off of it, and it should be a good series. But I'm predicting a sweep.
I love that. Joey, what do you got?
Yeah, I like the positivity there. I like the optimism. You said it. I mean, that second game of the series, or what did you say, the Tuesday matchup? That's
Tuesday.
That's a damn good matchup to watch. Stroman returning there. he kind of talked about the electricity in that ballpark. That could be like, I always get the flashbacks back to like the Joe Carter days, and then the Joey Bats with that major bat flip, like just wild. Like that place was just rocking when they were in the playoffs and really doing well. But this is a good team, man. This is gonna be a tough series. Like I'm not expecting a whole lot, to be honest with you. I think that game on Tuesday is kind of a coin flip. Barrios, like you said, he's been hittable this year, like really hittable. And he's a guy that's been really good in years past, but for whatever reason, it hasn't really worked out that well in Toronto for him. So, yeah, maybe you can get a win there. I don't know about that other game. This is a good lineup. Like you just can't throw out anybody there to pitch against this lineup. So a little worried about that Wednesday TBD or whatever it is. So, with that said, man, yeah, it could be the start of a sweep. Who knows? Like this Cubs team is so hit or miss and random, and they compete. Like that's the one good thing. They compete. They keep it within a run or two more times than not. So if you just flipped all those games that were 1-run games or 2-run games or extra inning losses, this team would probably be in a much better position. But unfortunately, you can't do that. So I don't know. It's going to be tough out there in Canada.
Yeah, and just to add to what you guys had to say, obviously Tuesday's game will be must watch. Of course, I have currently something on my schedule that'll tie me up, so that one will be recorded on my DVR, and I'll be rewatching that one just for sake of the pitching matchup. But for tomorrow with Javier Assad, I would like to see him go 5. I think that's kind of my one thing that I would like to see from him. He pitched into the 5th inning in his debut, 4+ in his debut. I'd like to see him get through at least 5, maybe even 5 1/3, 5 2/3. I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be good for the bullpen as well. You save some of those arms because right now it looks like Wednesday might shape up as a bullpen day. So maybe that's the game that you want to keep those guys a little more fresh. So you can get more innings from your starters.
More reason for David Ross to let him go tomorrow.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. Like, how cool would it be to see Stroh shove for, 7 innings in Toronto? So certainly want to see the bullpen saved, especially if Wednesday's going to get chaotic. But that's just kind of my 2 cents on the game tomorrow. Wins are cool and tough. Would love to see the Cubbies coming away with a win. And maybe Assad's first win as a big leaguer up with the Cubs. Yes, boys, sir. Fly around the room really quick here. Tyler, we'll start with you. Fly the W pick for this Toronto series coming up.
So they're going to get in Toronto tomorrow. They're going to see, what's his name? Vladdy Guerrero hitting BP. The Franimal is going to see that and think, oh, all right, I'll show you. I'm going with Franmil Reyes. I think he's going to hit a couple bombs this series.
I like that. I like that a lot. Joey, who do you got?
Oh, man, I love the Franimal pick, but I'm going to go random as hell. Like just because I feel like when I called this guy out at the All-Star break, this guy started to produce, and lately he has not been doing that. He is like downturned again. He's like so streaky of a pitcher. Canada boy, born in Vancouver, Canada. Let's go with Rowan Wick. He was pretty good today. Just random as fuck. He's not actually going to be the player of the series. We know that, but we know the bullpen is struggling, and we know we're going to see a heavy dose of Rowan Wick, barring a DFA or something crazy or whatever. So he's going to be my Fly the W pick for no other reason than he was born in Canada. And yeah, that's about it.
I like it, going with the Canadian-born A. I'm a big fan. Scott knows. It's like Scott took the words right out of my mouth. Nico is the answer. I am going to take Nico.
That's a good answer.
Nico Hoerner's going to have a good series. I can see him parking one over that left field wall in Toronto. Who knows? Maybe Nico gets hot, a little power surge north of the border. Maybe he gets to double-digit home runs by the end of this series. That would be cool and tough. I like Nico Hoerner. Had a great day today, banner day for him today. I think he's just going to keep it up. And again, we were pumping his tires a little bit here today, so we're going to keep the tire pumping going. I'm going to take Nico Hoerner as my Fly the W player. Gentlemen, before we get out of here, I do want to remind everybody that Cubs on Tap is the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Everybody can check out all of our great work over at ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on social media. You can follow the pod-specific accounts for us here at Cubs on Tap. We're at Cubbies on Tap, that's CUBBIES, Twitter and Instagram. I am at Loose on Tap on the Bluebird app. Joey is at Joey Knows Nothing. Tyler is at TeddyFreddy270. You can also follow our other great co-hosts at Juice on Tap. And then you can also follow our other great contributors, Rob Wegley and Brandon Kane. They are at Bulls Guy Rob and at Brandon M. Kane on Twitter. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, you know the drill. We got it all. Bears looked really good yesterday. Justin Fields looks like the fucking truth. And you can catch all of that over on Bears on Tap. You'll hear Joey and I's clown voices over there pretty much all season long, along with Beaton and Quentin. So be sure to check that out as well. And again, Cubs fans, you know the drill. We all got friends that like the White Sox. They might need a hug right now, too, so you might want to check in on them. But you can also send them over to our boys at Sox on Tap. Yeah, just check in on them. But our friends over at Sox on Tap do a great job covering the Southsiders. Send them over there for all of their White Sox needs. Once again, OnTapSportsNet.com and OnTapSportsNet on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Gentlemen, a nice long hour and 10-minute show. This one was a blast. A lot to talk about, a lot to dissect. We will be back tomorrow night for sure and Wednesday night for sure, covering this Toronto series. Tuesday's a little up in the air, so bear with us here at Cubs on Tap. But boys, always a pleasure talking Cubs with you guys, despite the loss. And what do you guys say? We get out of here the only way we know how at Cubs on Tap?
Fuck the Cardinals.
Fuck the Brewers.
Nico Horner, you're the best shortstop in Chicago and in the league.
And fuck the bullpen.
And let's go Cubbies.